Today we talk about sleep paralysis, the sense that a terrifying old hag is sitting on your chest stealing your breath, dancing coffins, sinkholes that go down, and who's really living in your house.
Get comfortable. Turn off the lights. It's Monthly Spooky.
Hey my friends, welcome to Monthly Spooky. It's an end of the month hangout where you, the Spookies, as I'm trying to make happen, hang out with me and my good friend Michelle. Michelle, how are you today?
I don't know. I'm fine.
Oh, well, that's a start at least. Well, thank you for joining me down here in the crypt. I'm still kind of figuring out how I want it to look.
Mhm.
Like, it's still not done, but we're getting there. I don't know, like... I had the pile of skulls, or of heads, severed heads rather,
Mhm.
and it just wasn't really working for me. So now I went with the 2 gargoyles, but I ordered them on Wish, and when they came,
Aw.
like you see, I mean, like, oh god, I don't even have to tell you. Look at their, just look really close at their eyes.
Yeah. I can't believe. I mean, come on, they're from Wish. Like, what do you expect?
Well, on the photo on the website didn't have them looking that way. Okay,
Well,
I didn't know.
it's like you've never visited any forums about buying gargoyles on the internet or something.
I'm sorry, I'm not the Reddit connoisseur that you are. The worst part is I wrote Reddit. No, I wrote Wish, and I was like, hey, these gargoyles, their eyes are all derped. And they were like, we'll give you 30% back. And I was like, no. And they were like 45% back. And I was like, no. And they were like 75% back. And I said, listen, I want a refund. And they were like 50% back. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I don't know if that's just the way Chinese gargoyles look or what.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to return it or just accept my fate and just like try to like put like just attach like adhesive googly eyes to their eyes. I feel like that would be more effective.
Yeah, probably. And they're
To be
cheap.
honest, well, and to be honest, I'm like really, really self-conscious about this right now because the moment you walked in and sat down, you were just staring at the gargoyles the entire time when you sat down, but you weren't saying anything, which is even worse. That you're like, oh my god, he did such a bad job. I need to be polite. It made me feel awful.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
It's okay, but you can tell me the truth. What do you really think about my gargoyles? You can say it.
No. They're fine. I love them. They're great. They're my favorite gargoyles I ever saw from Wish.
Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks. Well, how are you doing? I'm guessing I pretty much know because I was actually hanging out with you like yesterday, basically.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
you doing good? Doing okay?
That would be an overstatement, but sure. Okay. We can do that.
Well, I'm doing pretty good because I got reunited with my dogs. I was out on the East Coast doing some, traveling for work and hanging out with you, which is technically work because your mother does pay me to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I had a nice laugh this morning because when I got up, the dogs were waiting at the door because they had to pee. They were like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I opened the door and they run to the door to pee. And I'm just like, you guys are so goofy. And then the second they went out the door to pee, I was like, oh man. And then I ran to the bathroom to pee. And I was like, we are indeed family.
Yeah.
So I think now, though, it's time, Michelle, to get to the spooky news.
Oh.
The spooky news.
You're like, oh yeah, we do that, I guess.
We're doing something.
So this one, our first piece of spooky news, I picked this specifically for you, Michelle. This is from mirror.co.uk. It says, woman warned someone is secretly living in your house after spotting disturbing signs.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, do you worry that someone is secretly living in your house?
Not anymore.
What made that stop?
Well, when the police came because of my printer,
Oh, yeah.
I thought maybe someone was living in my attic. But when they pulled down the attic stairs, they were like covered in cobwebs. So unless someone's really good at making spider webs, there's nowhere they could live.
It's possible they're that good, but probably not.
Yeah.
So let's see. A woman and her husband were left terrified after hearing strange noises in their home, and now they're both so scared that they've been sending their dog to check the rooms.
Oh man.
I'd like to imagine it's like a Lhasa or something. Like it's a little foo-foo dog, and they're like, "Go on, tapioca pudding, check it out. Go on, boy. Go make sure there's no murderers." All right, so this is this is from mirror.uk. It says, imagine sitting in your own home, minding your own business, when suddenly you hear creepy noises. My printer just went off in the middle of me saying that. That's extra creepy because I haven't used it in 7 days. I've been out of town.
Wow.
Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted. When suddenly you hear creepy noises and see things moving around. That exact thing has happened to one concerned woman who has been left seriously scared after noticing some seriously strange goings-on in her own home.
Seriously.
That's how you know this is for real.
Mm-hmm.
She claims she doesn't believe in all things paranormal. Doesn't believe in all things paranormal? Like... That's like a claim a podcast makes. We cover all things paranormal. She's like, look, I don't believe in all things paranormal. I believe in some things paranormal.
Yeah.
And this isn't a Sasquatch. It couldn't even fit through my door. Get real. Whatever. I don't know why her response would be, I don't believe in all things paranormal.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe she said, I don't believe in the paranormal, and they were like just trying to make it sound cool, but they messed up.
Oh, well, they definitely messed up.
Yeah.
But after the bizarre events, she feels like her home may actually be haunted.
Oh.
After years of living happily in the detached property, odd things have started to happen, such as moving objects and unexplained creaking. So wait, now, I like that in the detached, I guess that's just a way of making sure we understand it's not like she doesn't share walls or something. Because they call it detached property.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband has also noticed the noises too, but is refusing to discuss the spooky goings-on with her. Wait, he's refusing to discuss it with her? I would get that he's refusing to discuss it with the mirror, but he's refusing to discuss it with his own wife he lives with? Honey, did you hear that? I'm watching Netflix, babe.
Yeah, it's like, how do we know that he knows this is happening if he was refusing to discuss it?
If he's refusing to discuss it, then he's either gaslighting her or she is imagining it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like, there are so many, I don't know if it's in real life, but there are so many, like true, like, horror ghost story things where they have the reenactments, and the person, and the, like, man is like, oh, I saw things happening, but I didn't want to believe them, so I was just gaslighting everybody for, like, 5 months.
I just put my hand on on top of my wife's hand and said, "You're insane." That's love, though, you know?
Yeah.
So, although he does have his wits about him because he's sending their family dog into rooms before he enters them. Look, I'm not saying something weird's going on, but Sparky is going in first. All right? Remaining anonymous, she took to Mumsnet to write, I'm not into the paranormal, but I'm getting freaked out in my house. We've lived here 10 years. The house is only 20 years old. It's built on marshland. Oh, does that give you any red flags? Michelle is a relatively licensed home inspector. What is that? What does that tell you that it's on marshland? Could that cause any strange phenomena?
Well, no. But
thank you.
I was just thinking, like, the house I grew up in was built kind of on, like, a marshy area, so we didn't have a basement. So they probably also don't have a basement.
Sure.
That's
all you were thinking?
Yeah, and also, you know, like, it's possible that they have issues with, you know, water penetration into their foundation stuff if it's really wet over there. That's it. It's not going to make weird noises.
Quote, a year or so after we moved in, weird stuff started happening. Stuff moving around, noises, and the dog was going nuts in certain rooms. Doors were opening by themselves, etc. My husband got freaked out by it and started getting angry at me every time I mentioned it. He outright refused to discuss it, but admitted he had seen and heard the same stuff as me. Well, that's not entirely refusing to talk about it. Like, he won't speak about it at all. I mean, he acknowledged it, but then immediately was just like, no, forget it.
I mean, I understand that. It's probably really scary to him, you know?
Sure.
And he doesn't really like, I wouldn't want to talk about it in the home if there's ghosts, because then they'll know and they'll be like, yeah, we're doing it, bro. And then they'll keep going. So I understand.
Oh man, somebody said Beetlejuice the required amount of times. Okay, back into the quote. Then it all stopped. Nothing happened for years. All good. But then a couple of weeks ago, I was messing around on my phone, and behind me I saw a shadow go past in the hallway out of the corner of my eye and heard it brush along the wall. The dog, a different dog, flew over me, barking and growling, all heckles raised. The back door was locked. There was no way anyone could have got in without me or the dog hearing the front door. I sent the dog around the whole house. Nothing at all. I put it to the back of my mind, but ever since the noises have started up again. Footsteps on the first floor, doors opening and closing, muffled voices. My husband has heard it too and is laughing it off, saying the ghost is back, but he too is randomly sending the dog into rooms and upstairs before him and telling me not to be stupid when I mention it. It's seriously starting to freak me out. It sounds to me like he thinks a person lives in your house and he's afraid of that person.
Yeah.
So don't talk about it. That's going to make them reveal themselves.
Yeah.
Bad Ronald's going to be like, all right, fine. The gig is up. I'm killing you both.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's trying to appease the person living in the walls. Have you ever seen that video of the people who put a camera out because they were wondering who was like messing with their living room, and it turned out a woman was living in the crawl space?
I haven't seen the video, but I know about that.
It's scary, dude, because she just crawls out of the crawl space like a friggin', animal, and then comes down and then just like raids the refrigerator, watches TV, and then goes back up into the crawl space. And of course, it's all in like night vision, so it's even scarier because she's being filmed like you film a possum, Yeah.
Very,
very upsetting stuff.
Yeah. I actually, I had a friend that had someone try to live in their basement.
Without their permission?
Yes.
Oh, see, that would have been such a no story for like, no, they asked if they could pay rent to live in their basement.
And it was
like,
fine. Yeah.
Oh. No, how does that happen though?
So, to the best of my knowledge, is that they had a show, like a house show with music at their house, and she just didn't leave and then tried to live in the basement.
Just they went down one day and they were like, is that an ottoman? And she was like, I don't know what you mean.
That's probably like exactly what happened. So they kicked her out. Yeah.
Of course. Quote, it happened again 10 minutes ago. The sound of the floorboards creaking upstairs in the pattern of footsteps. My husband looked up and muted the TV. Then the sound of something being moved. I said, you're not telling me you didn't hear that. And he said, I'm not getting into this stuff again, and turned the TV back up. It's a detached house. We don't have neighbors. What the F is it? One user commented, okay, I'd move, with another joking, burn it down. Someone else added, I'm not a huge believer in the woo, but I'd be a bit freaked out too. Someone unhelpfully commented, you say you lived here 10 years and the house is 20 years old. Have you checked all the rooms, attics, basements, garages to make sure previous occupants definitely left? Why is that listed as unhelpfully commented?
Because it's not ghosts.
Like, look, it's ghosts or GTFO. Sorry.
Yeah.
One Mumsnetter wrote, quote, I think I'd get a priest in and bless the house or whatever it is they do to get rid of ghosts. Not sure I believe in all that, but it's worth a try, perhaps. Others gave reassurance, though, writing, quote, the footsteps will be birds on the roof. I have this with my house, and it honestly sounds like a person is walking around my loft, but it's not. It's crows.
Walking around my loft.
Walking around my loft. These are British people,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So, quote, if it's a house built on marshland, could it be something of subsistence that could account for all sorts of, it's a question. Could it be something of substance? That could account for all sorts of things, someone else suggested.
Like what?
Well, my thought was maybe the marshland, maybe the house settles weird, or it's going to be more prone to creaking and stuff.
Okay, so with settling,
Yeah.
I think people kind of misunderstand settling a little bit. If the house is 20 years old, it should be done settling. Usually it's the first 10 to 15 years, but since it's only 20, maybe. But I think a lot of people think like 100-year-old house is going to settle. It's not settling. If it's settling, you have problems. Like that means that something is desperately wrong with your foundation, basically.
Well, see, my home actually doesn't really do it anymore, or I'm just completely used to it that I'm deaf to it. My house would like randomly have like clicks.
Well, what's probably happening is that you just have, your house is made of wood and stuff. So when the temperature is changing, it's expanding and contracting.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, because my house will just pop every once in a while, like something. It's just you have all sorts of different components, and they're all kind of moving at different times a little. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But you don't think that like the marshland could shift or something and cause the house to do something weird?
Oh, I mean, their house could be sinking. It's totally right.
Oh, okay.
But like, I hope not, because that's a bigger problem.
Yeah, no, I would say that's much scarier than ghosts.
Yeah.
Did you know, Michelle, and this is a major digression, but did you know that that there's a correlation between when the Amityville Horror book was a humongous success as both a book and then a movie with people moving to the suburbs?
That makes sense.
And a lot of people say that haunted house stories, the reason they catch on so much is because actually just buying a house is so unpleasant and so anxiety inducing that like ghosts are almost like a metaphor for the toilets don't work, or the plumbing's all wrong, or you don't realize what you got into until you've already spent your life savings.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's also even if you end up in a place that, works out, that kind of beginning is still like really scary. And you can definitely, even if, I mean, you can always misunderstand sounds that you're hearing, especially in the first couple of days. You're not used to it, things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
New houses are every house has like a little bit of personality in a way.
Yeah.
Like some people some people are like, oh, my house creaks this way at night, or oh, like the pipes bang occasionally, or like, oh yeah, the walls bleed and I hear get out. It's like, oh, that's just gas escaping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. What are you, a baby? So this next story is kind of in spirit with last month's episode. It's a shark story because we're still in the summer, baby. From NPR, a Greenland shark, one of the longest living animals on Earth, was caught near Belize.
Wow.
That's very unusual.
Wow.
This is shades of Jaws the Revenge, where the shark drives. The shark rents a car. No, the shark swims from New Jersey all the way to the Bahamas.
Wow.
And big sharks don't live in warm water. They can survive in warm water, but they don't tend to live in warm water. Researchers tagging tiger sharks off the southern coast of Belize couldn't believe their eyes when they recently reeled in a different kind of fish. It turned out to be a Greenland shark, which is typically found in the Arctic and can live to be over 500 years old.
Wow, good for them.
If that shark is 500 years old, he's so racist. Like, there's just no way around it.
No.
Like, do you think when they tagged the shark was like, and then like looked at the tag and went, you people do all right work. And the researchers just like, what? Never mind. It's just the way he was raised.
That's such a cop out though. There are tons of old sharks or people or whatever that like learn and aren't racist anymore. And if he's 500 years old, like he should be really good at adapting. So
Well, but I counter that with sharks have barely changed in a million years.
just because it looks the same as it looked 500 or a million years ago does not mean that its heart is the same.
So what you're saying is don't take a page out of their playbook and judge things by how they look.
Yeah.
It's going in a direction I wasn't prepared for, and it's all my fault.
Sorry.
The team of scientists thought the shark was dead when they finally hauled it up to the surface. Unlike the tiger sharks they were after, this particular shark had black, worn-looking skin and pale blue eyes.
Aww.
Devanshi Kasana, a PhD candidate at the Florida International University Predator Ecology and Conservation Lab, said the shark looked really, really old. Is that the professional opinion? I love that. Quote, "It was just very surprising and confusing," she said. "As soon as it entered our field of vision, we saw a black figure that was getting bigger and bigger. When it came to the surface, none of the crew with all of their combined fishing experience had seen anything like that." Kasana said the discovery is especially exciting because it suggests that these sharks, which were thought to mainly exist in the Arctic, can be found in the tropics as well. That is interesting. I mean, who knows if the shark just traveled or if they do just live out there. I mean, if they can live to be 500 years old, they could literally end up anywhere on the planet.
Yeah. But then how come no one has ever, when all of those people had never seen one of them before in that area?
That's true. Well, the ocean is also very, very big.
I guess.
You're like, I've seen bigger.
Yeah.
Well, I do find this interesting. So you remember there were shark attacks in New Jersey. That is the basis of Jaws.
Uh-huh.
And most of the shark attacks actually took place in fresh water.
Oh.
Or in lakes that had kind of had salt water in them as well. But basically, they weren't in the open ocean. They were in inlets. And the reason people believe that happened at all is because the temperature of the water had changed. And it was warmer further down, so they were following the cold water.
Okay.
And they went further up the coast and kind of concentrated to where they could, find mates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Greenland sharks can likely live to be more than 500 years old. Scientists have more questions than answers when it comes to the Greenland shark. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, these sharks are the longest living vertebrates on the planet, living possibly more than 500 years. And that's just an estimate because there's no definite way of determining their age. So we're just like, it's not like anybody was like, hey, I saw that shark 220 years ago at a party. They live a long time. Like, great. So in reality, all Greenland sharks live to be like 6 years old.
Yeah.
Somebody was like,
we don't know.
Man, that shark's big and it's cold here. Let's just make a guess and get out of here. It's cold.
Yeah.
The reason they live to be so old may have something to do with their speed of life, which is slow. Very, very slow. Greenland sharks grow approximately 1/3 of an inch per year and can grow to be more than 20 feet in length. And researchers believe the sharks don't reach sexual maturity until sometime after the first 100 years of life.
We don't know that. We don't know any of that stuff, it sounds like.
This researcher has never dated a shark. What do they know?
We have no way to determine their age, like they said. So how would we know that?
It's fascinating to me, the idea that they don't reach sexual maturity for 100 years. That seems like horrible evolution.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because I already think it's horrible evolution that humans take so long. I mean, like, because like a dog can like have a baby when it's like 10 months old. Granted, it lives like 15 years, but still, it just seems odd. According to Kasana, some scientists have theorized that the Greenland shark can be found across the globe if one knows where to look. They love cold water, which is why they're found in the Arctic. However, they've also been discovered as far south as off the coast of Georgia.
Oh.
thousands of feet beneath the ocean surface.
Oh.
So I'm guessing they mean Georgia, America, and not the inland nation of Georgia in the Baltics. That would be really weird.
That would be weird.
So they I mean, like, so they don't mind hot, warm water. They don't mind it.
Plus,
Clearly.
if they're like low down in the ocean, it's probably a lot cooler because there's not sunlight and things down there. So
Yeah,
so maybe that's
it's
how
way
they.
cooler.
Yeah, it's so cool.
The theory is that the closer the sharks are to the equator, the deeper researchers have to go to find them. You just said it. You just said that.
Yay!
They copied you. And they do go deep, over 7,000 feet down, according to the
Wow.
NOAA. Yeah. Kasana said their catch was strictly accidental. On April 22nd, she and her team were working with members of the Belizean shark fishing community and the Belize Fisheries Department to set lines along Glover's Reef, located about 30 miles off the coast. The waters of the reef can be as shallow as 25 feet, but steep drop-offs can reach more than 2,000 feet down. It slopes suddenly, and the depths go really deep, really fast, Kasana said. We believe the line dragged from a much shallower depth to the drop-off, which is why we ended up catching this individual.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's a good way to cover your ass since they're protected species, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We weren't fishing for it, we swear. We don't even know what you're talking about. A report of the encounter published on July 15th claims this was the first Greenland shark to be discovered in the Western Caribbean. Knowing how rare the experience was, Kasana said her team discussed buying a lottery ticket should they ever come across another one. Quote, if we were to catch another individual, it would be sheer luck. We don't set our lines in a way that targets Greenland sharks, Kasana said. It'd be weirder if they did. They were like, you never know, just in case you have one Greenland shark line.
Yeah.
When they reeled in the shark, it looked extremely old, she explained, and though they briefly considered tagging it, they didn't want to accidentally hurt or kill the shark in the name of science.
Oh.
Instead, Kasana and her team measured the shark. Measured the shark, punched it in its nose to assert dominance, took notes and a photo, and sent it on its way.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you shouldn't kill the shark, but at the same time, you know, if they had killed the shark and opened its stomach up, they could have learned a lot about where it's been.
Sure, but I don't want them to do that. I don't care that much about where it's been. It's been there.
You hate science?
Yes.
I knew it. You heard it here first, folks. Michelle hates science.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the ocean, we have a story from the high seas. This one is from mirror.co.uk. Eerie ghost ship runs aground on beach during storm with discarded life jackets nearby.
Huh.
A spooky ghost ship ran aground on a beach in the middle of a storm in Cambodia. The deserted vessel was found ashore after being blown by strong winds as waves hit the coast near Koh Tang Island in the province of why did I choose this story? Preah Senhahuk in Cambodia on the evening of July 12. The next morning, authorities searched the shoreline for signs of its occupants to no avail. However, 3 life jackets were discarded on rocks just 50 meters from the wreckage. Officials still have not been able to board the still unidentified ship because of rough seas. It was left on the beach while the weather calms down. Whoa, the pictures are freaky too. It's like a big modern ship that's just sitting there with nobody on it. Just like chilling. Do you find the ocean terrifying? Because I find the ocean terrifying.
It's so scary and big, and you go in and you just die if you're on a ship.
It's literally all you're doing is dying.
Yeah.
Death is pretty much guaranteed when you get into the ocean. It's a bit scary, I would say. We just did a story on Terrifying and True on Weekly Spooky last 2 weeks ago or whatever, about the Mary Celeste, the first American ghost ship, which I highly recommend people go back and listen to if they haven't already on the podcast feed. It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it's very similar to the one that we just talked about too. To this one.
Just a empty ship. Although there's like a million theories about it because it happened a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. The local Coast Guard, Sohip-san, said, "At first we were not able to get close enough to the ship to check its markings. There were no signs of which country it came from. We have informed ships in the area to keep watch for any missing crew. They could be in a lifeboat or floating in the sea." Staff from the Koh Tang Observation Force inspected the shipwreck this morning on July 14th and searched for anyone who had washed up further along the coast. They believe the vessel was registered in China. Of course, that's why no one knows anything about it. China's like, we don't tell anybody anything, so ooh, ghost, you know. They said today the crew and captain had still not been found.
They died.
Ooh. I mean, that's one of those creepy things. When we were researching the Mary Celeste, one of the first things that stuck out to me was how often people and things just die and disappear in the ocean. It's super normal. It's super common.
Yeah.
Everybody dies when they go in the ocean,
Yeah.
whether it's on a ship or just, dipping your foot in it. You just die instantly.
You just die.
It's just immediate. Have you ever seen the film Ghost Ship?
No.
It has one of the most famous horror movie openings ever. It's from like 2007, where everybody's cut in half by a razor cord.
Oh.
So like a razor cord flips through everybody on the top deck, and then they all slowly like fall apart in half.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty creepy. I highly recommend it. But I always think of the Ghost Ship when I think of things like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the ocean's so big, and we've spent so long sailing it without finding everything even close to finding everything about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating and terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I remember I was like, maybe I want to go to the ocean. And like when I was a teenager, and then they were like, giant squid proven real. And I was like, never mind.
I mean, squids are cool, but yeah.
They're cool, but not when they're that big.
Okay.
Plus, have you ever watched videos of octopuses just climbing onto ships?
No, but they're very smart. So I believe it.
And they can live out of the water for a little while, which is not okay.
Well, I mean, we can live in the water for a little while, so it's
and that's not okay either. Clearly, by what I've just said, that is not okay. Not okay. So, sorry, but it's not okay, Michelle.
Okay.
It's not okay.
It's so quiet.
It's not okay. We'll be back. We're going to take a quick break, and then we've got 3 more stories for you. So, but we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. All right, and we're back with a little bit more spooky news for you. This one, Michelle, also follows a trend established on last month's show.
Yeah.
And you're going to love it because I know how much you love these.
No.
From NPR, a massive sinkhole just discovered in Chile has authorities puzzled. Look at listen. Do you hear how happy Michelle is? She loves sinkholes so much.
They're so scary and cool. Yay.
The first word in the article is just "it's so deep." That's the first word, and then it's a space. Like then there's another line. It's so deep. Line drop. At 656 feet from top to bottom, a sinkhole that opened in Chile over the weekend could fit the Washington Monument inside with about 100 feet to spare.
Wow.
That's deep.
That's a good place to keep things.
It's so deep. Whoa, and like I'm looking at a picture of the sinkhole. Mm-hmm. It's maybe 500 feet from buildings and houses.
Wow.
But it's not where it looks like it's on farmland. And actually it looks like it looks like it actually may have broken in the middle of a railroad track.
Oh God.
Yeah, this is not friendly. Officials are working to determine what caused the massive sinkhole near the mining town of Tierra Amarilla. The sinkhole is fairly wide too. After it was found on Saturday, Hey, Anybody else notice that 600 foot deep hole? Oh shit. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm the only one. I always swear when I try not to swear on the show.
Oh.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's yeah, I guess that sinkhole's there. I saw it on Tuesday. I meant to write it down. I forgot. Yeah. After it was found on Saturday, the National Geology and Mining Service, also called Cernaganiman, first estimated the diameter at about 82 feet wide.
Oh God.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Then I'm right. Yeah, it's like if it's 82 feet wide, that means it's about 100 feet from a structure.
Wow.
Based on this photograph.
Wow.
So, yeah, wow. But the sinkhole, oh wait, hold on. But the sinkhole proved to be much larger upon further inspection.
Oh.
On Tuesday, the agency said it's nearly 105 feet wide.
Oh.
And for comparison, yet again, the Washington Monument is only 55 feet wide at its base.
It's funny because it's like comparing to the Washington Monument is weird because I've never been there, so I don't know what that looks like size-wise.
I know it's tall.
Yeah, it's a big thing, but like, give me something to really compare it to. I don't know.
Yeah, really. Like, how many Subway sandwiches can fit in it?
Exactly.
That's going to tell me something I can understand.
Or what about like the average size of a McDonald's? Like, just something that I'd see around.
This can hold 5 billion pennies. Whoa.
Wow, that's like too much. And it's like, I don't even know what 1 penny looks like.
I've lost it entirely. Quote, we haven't detected any material down there, but we have seen the presence of a lot of water, said agency director David Montenegro in a statement to Reuters. The land where the sinkhole appeared is owned by Canada's London Mining Corps and is near the company's Minero Hojas del Salado copper mining operations. So it's near a copper mine, which means that there's like blasting and hole digging around.
I mean, they said that they don't know what caused it, but we know what caused it. There's a mine over there. There's some water under there. Like, that's what happened.
Michelle's here first. She's saying she knows the truth. This is a conspiracy theory moment with Michelle.
Yeah.
Tell us exactly what happened.
So
Go.
Then there was a monster. And he came in and he just like pounded like a Bigfoot, I guess. And he was just, I don't know, walking. And then I don't know, whatever Bigfoots do.
Yeah, why didn't they measure the hole in Bigfoots? It's over 400 big feet tall. The company said Monday that the sinkhole has remained stable since it was detected.
That's good.
One of the mines nearby is also being monitored, and there has not been any movement related to the sinkhole. Quote, as a preventative measure, development work in an area of the Alcaparroso underground mine has been temporarily suspended, the company added. While investigators are still working to determine the cause of the sinkhole, some folks on Twitter have chimed in with their own theories. This is the real news. That's why I start laughing when it's like, but on Twitter. On my Google newsfeed, half of the news stories are just a news story telling me something that happened on TikTok.
Wow.
It's really concerning, honestly.
Wow.
Because it'll be like, this woman went to work for 5 years straight without a single sick day, and this is how she was appreciated. And you click on it, it's just them recapping TikTok. I guess that's human interest stories now. It's just TikTok.
Yeah.
But according to Corey Bowles on Twitter, replying to CNN, he shared a GIF of an asteroid hitting. Another person posted a GIF of the Roadrunner from Wile E. Coyote cartoons, putting the little black circle on the ground that makes it a massive hole.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, and then somebody just posted a GIF that just says the word aliens. So that's Twitter chiming in to help us out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Twitter. we appreciate everything you do, Twitter.
We have to be nice to them or they're really mean.
What are they going to do? Call my boss and get me fired? I already don't like me as an employee.
Yeah.
I'll be like, sorry, can't let him go. It just won't work. I try to just make him feel so bad he'll quit, but he won't. He just sticks around. Um, so we go from down in Central America to Barbados.
Okay.
And this is from mirror.co.uk. It's the headline is Creepy Vaults in Barbados where all the coffins mysteriously move about.
Okay. I guess they're going to tell me why, right?
Maybe. Man, we've been in the Caribbean most of today. There's something weird going on where the water is warm. I'm telling you. An abandoned family tomb on the island of Barbados in the Caribbean. I don't know why I said it different than the way I always say it, has an eerie history of dancing coffins that remains unexplained to this day. So these coffins dance.
Okay.
That's as a Hispanic man, I will tell you that when I heard dancing coffins, my immediate gut reaction was, well, it sounds better in Spanish. That was the first thought I had when I heard it. I was like, I'm sure it sounds amazing in Spanish, though. Like, that's just one of those things that doesn't translate right, but it sounds amazing in Spanish. In Spanish, you hear that and you're like, ooh, I want to go. And then they're like, oh, it's dancing coffins. And you're like, oh, that's scary. And then you say it in Spanish again, they'd be like, ooh. Like, but dancing coffins, it makes me imagine like a web page with like gifs of dancing coffins, but with the hamster dance theme, though.
Okay.
We're so old, Michelle. Like, we're gonna die like really soon.
Yeah.
Like, in a matter of hours.
Oh, damn.
I'm sorry. I'm not the one who chooses when people die.
Oh.
I mean, at least not yet. What have you heard?
I don't know. I'm not supposed to say anything.
Fine. A small vault in the cemetery of Christchurch Parish was built in 1724 by an official named James Elliot and was approximately 12 feet deep and 6 feet wide. The stony underground room could only be accessed by a set of stairs and was secured behind a chunky piece of marble slab. That sounds nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like a good marble slab.
Yeah.
It just that's what this recording crypt is missing.
Yeah.
Do I need like a slab? But it's bad for the acoustics.
Okay, so what about wallpaper that looks like marble?
Oh, you mean marble contact paper?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they used in the first Phantasm movie.
Yeah.
To make the marble walls was contact paper.
There you go.
I mean, I guess I could put the contact paper over the foam. That's meant to.
Yeah. Or under the foam, but you can't see it, but you know it's there.
Or what about what if I just make it up? So whenever somebody comes in, I go, oh, underneath that is marble. And they'll be like, ooh. There'll never be marble under there ever. Ooh, I didn't realize I was on a nice show. Oh my goodness. Accounts vary on the Chase Vault, as it became known after it was bought by the Chase family in 1808, but it is likely to have been initially occupied by Elliot and then his wife towards the end of the 18th century. The claustrophobic vault was then bought by the Walron family, and in 1807 a lady called Thomasina Goddard was due to be buried there soon after. However, when it was opened, the two Elliot caskets were bizarrely missing, which hinted at the seemingly paranormal activity that would plague the room.
I mean,
what were you going to say?
I mean, great grave robbers, but okay.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, we have a long and illustrious history of grave robbers. I feel like that's definitely what was going on there, is somebody stole stuff.
I'm really surprised that like the tomb would have been opened and they would have been like, oh no, there's ghosts because the caskets are gone. Like, really, guys? Have you ever been in a cemetery before?
Well, it is in a tomb with a giant slab of marble protecting it. Okay. So I could understand them thinking there'd be some degree of security, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, you get a couple of people who can move a big, giant, chunky slab of marble thing.
Well, okay, so when you are arranging a grave robbing, How do you handle it? Do you just put out a call like, I need a couple of strapping young men who can lift up a slab of marble? Is that what you usually put out on Craigslist?
I mean, no, it has to be a little bit more inconspicuous.
Oh,
But
okay.
you gotta but you do want to ask for people who are good at like hauling stuff. Like I go I'm moving.
Do you use Reddit? Do you go to r/not grave robbers?
Sometimes, but a lot of times they're too far away. Someone's like, "Oh, I'm in Indonesia," and it's like, "Well, how am I supposed to have you rob a grave with me?"
I think that's a little xenophobic, personally, but you do you, bud. I don't know. I'm not here to judge you, but I'm definitely judging you on that one. That was a hate-filled rant you just went on, Michelle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm very disappointed in you.
Oh.
So let's see. Goddard's coffin was left in there when the Chases eventually buried their 2-year-old daughter, Mary Ann, the same year they bought it. The vault remained untouched for 4 years until another of the Chase's daughters, Dorcas, had to be buried in it. Rumors spread that she had starved herself to death due to her abusive father, Thomas.
That's terrible.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm guessing you thought that a story about death in Barbados was going to be like really super positive.
Well, dancing coffins.
You're not wrong. That actually sounds like it would be fun.
Yeah.
And you're hoping I was hoping these would be like the fun kind of death stuff. The Mexican culture likes that. They're like, oh, it's the Day of the Dead. We wear face paint and we eat food and boo.
Yeah.
This time in the vault, Mary Ann's little coffin was found inexplicably upside down and on the opposite side of the room that it was placed. Ooh.
Those are mean grave robbers.
Yeah, they just don't care. There's like, yeet.
They're like, oh, it's just a little kid.
Yeet. They don't have any good jewelry. Yeet.
Yeah.
I like this yeeting tiny caskets thing we're on right now. Yeet. Okay, let's see. Thomas, her supposedly abusive father, died a few months later. Man, these people are all dying really suddenly.
Yeah.
And his casket was put next to his daughter's. But when the tomb was reopened in 1816 to bury 11th-month-old Samuel Brewster Ames, all the coffins inside were in complete disarray.
Wow.
2 more bodies were interred there over the next few years, and each time the residing coffins had moved as if they were dancing around the tomb. Dancing is a strong word. I would say slightly moving, but
I would say being tossed around the room.
The term is yeeted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeet. I think that's the first time I've ever heard you say yeet.
I say it in my head, but I don't need to say it out loud most of the time.
You're like, I'm not ready for that kind of commitment.
No, at some point, you have to be careful not to pick up new slang because then you just sound weird.
Oh, is that so?
Uh-huh.
So is that why you didn't comment on my drip?
I can't see it. Because you're just the disembodied head.
Well, that's how I do things because I'm great and powerful in here. The mysterious circumstances were reportedly brought to the attention of the then governor of Barbados, Sir Stapleton Cotton, who is said to have ordered a thin layer of sand to be spread upon the vault's floor to expose any potential footprints in case someone was breaking in and moving the coffins. See, that's at least they tried something to catch somebody.
Yeah.
But it's so rudimentary. I almost feel like they were like, that's when the mayor decided to take 2 pieces of scotch tape and tape a piece of hair to the door. So he would know if it had been opened.
I actually even like that better because, if somebody's getting in there, they're going to see the sand on the floor. So they could just fix it, if they want to.
They'd have to bring a rake preemptively.
Yeah.
Or a brush.
Yeah, okay.
It would be possible, but you also have to keep in mind how dark it is in there. They,
Oh, yeah.
like they would probably have like torches at this point. There'd
Yeah,
be
they
no
probably wouldn't
flashlights.
even notice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they'd probably have to do it really fast too.
Mhm.
So maybe not. I don't know.
Mm.
I guess we'll find out what happened next. Let's see. But the adult-led coffins were so big and heavy that it took up to 6 men to move one.
Shit.
That's something I mean, with the kid coffins, yeah, it's like you just eat those for the heck of it. But
Mhm.
like when you go to a funeral, like it takes a lot of people to carry that coffin comfortably.
Yeah.
So if it takes
Yeah.
like 6 pallbearers to carry it comfortably, that means like 3 strapping men might be able to move one coffin.
Yeah.
The vault was also checked for any secret passages and none were found. And earthquakes and floods were ruled out as no other coffins in the cemetery's vaults had altered position.
Okay.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd think the other vaults would be affected if somebody was robbing these graves.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's like a multi-generational, like we all go and hit this one tomb.
Like the Watcher in New Jersey.
Exactly. That's what I was
my
thinking.
father stole. My father messed with these coffins, and my father's father messed with these coffins. So here I am messing with these coffins.
Yeah.
I mean, in that way, it's almost respectable, I guess.
Hmm.
In 1820, the tomb was opened once again, and officials found no incriminating traces in the sand, but still, all the coffins had moved and looked like they had been forcefully thrown about, with Mary Ann's being chipped. Wow, they're being like tossed around. It's like there's some real anger issues with whatever's doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciative that this article mentioned the weight of coffins because I hadn't even thought about that. That's actually
Mhm.
really weird and creepy. And I love that they checked the other vaults and
Yeah.
nothing had happened there. Because my first instinct would be like natural phenomena, like an earthquake or something.
Mhm.
But if the other vaults are fine, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I mean, I honestly, it's definitely paranormal. Like it's definitely outside of the ordinary. It's real weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Let's see. This was one ghostly fright too far, and it was decided to move all the bodies out of the vault and rebury them elsewhere in the cemetery.
Yeah.
News of the creepy crypt spread as far as the British Isles, and the Sherlock Holmes creator Sir Arthur Conan Doyle suggested that because Thomas and Dorcas died by suicide, they were haunting the room. I love that because my first thought was, oh, Arthur Conan Doyle, like Mr. Science. And then I was like, oh, right, but this is a long time ago. So he's like, oh, yeah, there's angry spirits from suicide. Yes. Arthur Conan Doyle had all kinds of opinions about all kinds of stuff because he wrote about the Mary
Yeah.
Celeste, too.
Oh.
That's why I started laughing because that was one of the first things I found out about the Mary Celeste was that Arthur Conan Doyle was like, I have something to say about this.
Huh.
Indubitably. But yeah, so he said that he thought they were haunting the rooms because they died of suicide, although the strange activity started before their deaths. So that does
Yeah.
kind of poke a hole in his theory.
Yeah, it does.
Other supernatural theories include local spirits angry at being colonized causing the problems.
But just those
People. Those. Yeah, just those. Chase Vault remains empty today, but it is open to visitors brave enough to step into the shallow underworld to try and work out the mystery of the restless coffins.
I want to go.
Oh, see, I like how you were excited. I got disappointed the moment they said you can tour it. I was like, now I don't think it's real at all. Now I think it's just a thing to get tourism.
Oh,
Michelle's crushed. She's like, I believe you, tomb.
yeah. I'm believing that it happened.
Oh, Barbados. Good stuff. Well, we have one more piece of spooky news before we move on to our topic for today.
Uh-huh.
Again, from the mirror.co.uk. Inside one of England's most haunted hotels, where furniture moves by itself. So this
Go
one
again.
is about yeeting, but not children's caskets. Oh my God. See, okay, I'm going to give you, for people who would like a little insight into my existence. At a young age, I learned how to sight read violin, which, for those who don't know, it means that you play as you're reading. You don't process, you just kind of let your hands go. And I swear that destroyed my brain forever from being able to fully confidently know what I'm about to say. Because like I just said the thing about yeeting children's coffins, and the second it left my mouth, I heard it for the first time, and I was like, oh boy. Okay, moving on away from that. Watch the first line be children's coffins everywhere. Strange happenings have been caught on camera at one of England's most haunted hotels, where furniture appears to move by itself. So this is on camera. Visitors claimed they hear voices at Ye Old King's Head, which is now a full-time ghost hunting inn.
Okay, sure.
See what I mean? When it's attached to a paycheck, I immediately get a little bit skeptical.
I still think the other one is real.
Okay. If you want to go to Barbados with me, all we have to do is split the trip.
Okay.
We'll run a GoFundMe for the Weekly Spooky listeners. We'll do a show live from the crypt in Barbados. But then people will be like, I don't think they're actually at the crypt. And I'll be like, what are you talking about? And they'll be like, I don't know. I just heard somebody walk up and ask if you want another margarita. It's like, no, that was a ghost asking me if I wanted another margarita. Also, I can hear the ocean and bellhops.
The ocean in the crypt. It's right next to a resort.
It's right. It's a ghost ocean. It's a ghost-tion. That worked okay. So you heard it here first, folks. If you want to go to weeklyspooky.com and click on Patreon, if you back us on Patreon, you could be sending us to Barbados to examine the crypt of the dancing coffins, and definitely not just lounge at the beach and enjoy palomas.
To be fair, I really want to go to the coffin, and I don't actually care about the beach, so... Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind a little beach, and I don't even drink alcohol. It's just funny to say that you would like just sit and drink fancy alcohol drinks.
Yeah.
Unlike you, who are lush.
Yeah, I drink all the time. I'm drunk right now, probably. I don't even remember.
You drink all the alcohol.
Yep.
Any alcohol you can get, you drink.
Yep. All alcohol.
Paranormal investigators visited the former brothel. Boy, this place is good at capitalizing on whatever's hot and legal at the time, huh? Visited the former brothel last Friday with dozens of cameras rolling throughout the night. At around 12:14 a.m., a chair appeared to violently pull itself out from under the table, followed by a ghostly voice saying, "He's coming."
To sit down, or?
I mean, well, it said that it pulled it out from the chair, so I would assume that they were pulling it out so he could come in and sit.
Yeah.
It's polite.
That's
very
nice.
English.
Yeah.
The hotel, thought to be one of the most haunted locations in England, is now a full-time ghost hunting inn called My Haunted Hotel. That's the cheesiest name. Like, I thought it was called Ye Old King's Head. I was like, that's kind of creepy and cool.
Yeah.
No, it's called My Haunted Hotel. See, America is so litigious. When I see it's called My Haunted Hotel, I imagine somebody suing for false advertisement because they don't own it.
Yeah, it's not mine. Wait, it is mine?
Ta-da! Paranormal investigator Danny Moss recalled seeing a strange mist swirling around one of the cameras while overseeing an investigation in the downstairs bar area. The Haunted Hunts star, they call it the Haunted Hunts? Haunted Hunts star and fellow investigator Brett Jones were looking carefully at the monitor from the control room when suddenly something caught their eye. In the next moment, one of the wooden chairs appeared to force itself away from the table. Quote, "We were confused as to what this was, and then suddenly I saw something move out of the corner of my eye," Danny told NeedToKnow.online. "When we reviewed the footage back, we saw it was the chair. It had been a very quiet investigation for around 3 hours, and then we suddenly noticed a strange swirling mist around one of the cameras in the old brothel section. Brett and I immediately ran into the room and actively tried to explain the situation, and we found no rational or scientific explanation for why the chair moved. It's simply a paranormal moment."
Yay! They did it.
You guys did it. You found a ghost. Here's your here's your Nobel Prize for science.
Yay!
But there was more spookiness in store for guests that night, it seems, as the hotel lived up to its name.
It really was their haunted hotel.
Each person found the deed under their pillow.
Exactly. And now you have to pay taxes on it.
Oh my god, Michelle just made the scariest story I've ever heard. Because it ended in taxes. That's the scariest thing I've ever heard, Michelle. You can't just joke around like that. You have to think about the way your stories will affect your audience.
I just wanted it to be scary.
You didn't even say trigger warning taxation. You just went right into it.
Okay, next time.
You hurt me. You hurt me. Danny added, quote, "We also captured a disembodied male voice, which was extremely disturbing." Quote, "This was captured in room 2 at exactly 12:21 a.m., which is whilst Brett and I were trying to debunk the chair moving. We only noticed this the following day whilst reviewing the cameras. The voice says, 'He's coming.' And at the time, the only people in the building were our 2 guests on the bottom floor, and we were in the brothel section at the time. The entire top floor was completely empty, which is where room 2 is situated. There's no explanation for the voice." Do you have an explanation for the voice, Michelle?
No.
I was really hoping.
It was just a voice.
I was like, she's gonna slam dunk this one, kids. She's in.
No.
She's ready. She's ready to go. The hotel in Chester, which dates back to the 1600s, has served a number of purposes, including a coach house and notably a brothel. The team was hoping to uncover more about its past and discover what entities lie within. Danny said, quote, "We have a fairly good understanding of what we believe haunts the location, but to say this was a male or a female would be unprofessional of us, as we deal in hard evidence. That's why you go to My Haunted Hotel.
Yeah.
You go to My Haunted Hotel because you deal in evidence."
Mm-hmm.
Although, I don't know these guys. Maybe they went into it and went, if you call it My Haunted Hotel, we'll see if it's really haunted by going and checking it.
Yeah. They could be nice.
That's possible too. I shouldn't assume that their ghost hunters are like a lot of our ghost hunters. I just made so many enemies with what I just... Okay, just know, listener, if you enjoy ghosts and the paranormal, whoever you don't like in that field is who I was talking about.
Okay, yeah. That makes me feel better too. Thank you. I don't like them either.
Danny said, "We have a fairly good understanding of what we believe haunts this location, but to say it's..." Oh, I think I just said that.
Yeah.
Quote, "The entity that moved this chair clearly has intelligence, and that's unnerving as well as exciting. The team is continuing to investigate."
Yay, they did it. They got it.
They got it. We did it. We killed, skinned, and ate the ghost.
Yeah.
We did it, baby.
Finally.
So, Michelle, do you have issues with sleeping?
No.
No, not at all. You just sleep like a rock?
I mean, not really. Like I for most of the month, I'm pretty good. Like I'll wake up maybe in the early morning and then go back to sleep kind of deal. But I fall asleep pretty quickly, usually. I mean, every once in a while I'll have like a little bit of insomnia, but like talking about like once every 6 months I'll have a day where I don't sleep well. Yeah.
And I think that's actually less most people have more days than that where they have a little trouble falling asleep.
Uh-huh.
Well, Michelle, our topic when we get back from this break is all about sleep paralysis, also known as old hag's syndrome. Or not hags, old hag syndrome. I suffer from sleep paralysis. So we're going to learn about this circumstance, and I'll share my personal experiences with it when we get back from this quick word from our sponsors. So before we jump entirely into sleep paralysis, I want to take a moment to say, hey, if you're on Facebook, you should come and hang out with us on Weekly Spooky's Tomb of Terror. It's a Facebook group. It's a public group. Anybody can join it. And it's just a place where me and Michelle doesn't hang out in there as much as other people because she's too good for it. But we hang out and we share our favorite memes or scary stories. We share all kinds of stuff. It's just a cool place to interact with other people who enjoy the world of the spooky. So if you have a chance, get on your Facebook and type in Weekly Spookies Tomb of Terror and hang out with us. There's all kinds of cool stuff. It's also a great place to send us news stories and interact in general. And if you want to send us a news story or something you think we should cover on Monthly Spooky, which we do at the end of every month, email us at weeklyspooky@gmail.com. So now that that's over, I want to talk a little bit about sleep paralysis because this is something that has affected me personally very much.
Mhm.
Michelle, I'd like to say you're a layman. I want to hear what you believe, what you understand sleep paralysis to be.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so sleep paralysis is when it's kind of similar to what happens when you sleepwalk. It's kind of backwards, where when you're sleepwalking, it's like that part of your brain that that's supposed to go off, that controls your body so you don't move around. It doesn't go off, so you walk around and you do things and you stare at the wall like my brother did that time, and then that was really scary.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and
Are you sure you weren't thinking of the Blair Witch Project?
No, he was on the stairwell and standing there and he just pointed at the wall and he dropped his arm. It was terrifying.
Oh my god, that sounds terrifying.
So it's kind of the reverse of that. So what's happening is you're waking up partially, but your body, but that part of your brain that's supposed to let you move again, it hasn't woken up. So you're like, your body's asleep, but your brain is not asleep yet. Is not asleep anymore. That one.
Yeah.
And then you see things and you get scared and you can't move.
Well, and the way I always put it was, it's kind of like, because more people have had this experience where you're starting to fall asleep and then you kind of dream of something and you jerk, like your whole body jerks or whatever.
Yeah.
That's more, to me, that's very akin to sleep paralysis, but it's the reverse.
Okay,
your body hasn't fallen asleep, but your brain is already there.
Yeah.
So you physically react to what happens.
Yeah.
Well, so yes, I mean, you pretty much nailed what sleep paralysis is.
I know.
So here's a cookie for you. I was going to interrupt you and be like, no, it's a pastry. But but no, that's pretty much what sleep paralysis is. And there's a lot of weird things that go along with sleep paralysis.
Mhm.
People find that they have similar experiences where one of the big ones is they see a creepy old woman sitting on their chest or in the room with them. A big thing people talk about when they have sleep paralysis, and I've experienced this, is this sense that they're not alone. They wake up, they can't move, and they know they're not alone.
Yeah.
I think that's bizarre that it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
In fact, to be dead serious, the entire reason I don't believe in alien abductions is because I have sleep paralysis. So whenever somebody's like, I was abducted by aliens, I'm like, you have sleep paralysis, because I've had sleep paralysis and I was positive that I was, especially when I was a kid, that I wasn't alone. So what I wanted to do is dig into the Wikipedia article on sleep paralysis and kind of compare it to my own experiences. And then I can kind of talk a little bit more about it. So according to Wikipedia, which is, of course, the best source of information for anything, trademark. It says sleep paralysis is a state during waking up or falling asleep in which a person is aware but unable to move or speak. I will say, in my experience, I'm usually able to speak during sleep paralysis personally.
Oh, cool.
In fact, I've been known to call out.
Oh, that's actually really helpful.
And scarier.
Yeah.
Because I will wake up in a moment of sleep paralysis and I'll be like, who's there? Hello? And then once I finally come out of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm alone because I have sleep paralysis. That's the biggest thing, is I'm never able to remember I have sleep paralysis until it's happening for a while. It's always brand new.
Yeah, because brains are weird.
During an episode, one may hallucinate, hear, feel, or see things that are not there, which often results in fear. Episodes generally last less than a couple of minutes. It may recur or occur as a single episode. It definitely only lasts a few minutes, and it feels like a long time.
Mhm.
The first few sleep paralysis incidents I had that I remember, I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I thought that I was frozen for a half an hour or longer. And when I think back and remember it, it still feels like that's how long it was. I know it couldn't have been that long because
Yeah.
as an adult, it's never been that long, but it really felt like it was that long. And it was very scary.
Yeah.
Terrifying, honestly. The condition may occur in those who are otherwise healthy or those with narcolepsy, or it may run in families as a result of specific genetic changes. The condition can be triggered by sleep deprivation, psychological stress, or abnormal sleep cycles. Well, screw me. Screw me. I have all of those problems. Sleep deprivation. I used to see how long I could go without sleep when I was a kid.
That's
And now I
terrible.
just don't sleep because I'm working. But
I don't like either of those.
you never you never just tried to stay up as late as you could for no apparent reason when you were a kid?
Not for no apparent reason, no.
Oh, what did you do it for then?
Oh, like for like New Year's and stuff like that. Like,
That's adorable.
I'm very, very scared of not getting enough sleep.
Well, when you don't sleep, you feel weird. To quote Patriot. But that's so adorable though. You're like, I could stay up late for New Year's. The longest I stayed up was 37 hours when I was a kid.
No, I'm not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed? Who says you're not allowed to do that?
Me.
I used to, as a kid, during the summer, I would just see if I could stay awake a whole weekend. And the longest I'm pretty sure I made it was 37 hours. And then when you lay down in bed, like your bed's not even comfortable. Like your body is just like, it's really not doing great. And your mind gets really morbid. In my experience, the later you stay up. I had a friend who she had a sleep disorder. And she said that when she was doing things, she would be shocked how morbid her mind would get because she hadn't slept in like a day or so.
Mhm.
Like she'd be knitting. And then when she had to like change hooks, she would be like, I could just stab this in my eye. And she's like, well, I'm not going to, but I could. Like that was
So, just so like my whole life. Okay.
maybe you don't sleep. Maybe you think you're sleeping, but you're not. Sleep is super weird. I dated a girl who believed that she did not sleep more than maybe an hour a night.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she stayed over at my house, she slept all night. Like,
yeah.
I remember because when she told me, she was like, unfortunately, I just didn't get any sleep last night. I was like, I listened to you snore for like 2 hours while I watched Star Trek. And she was like, we're breaking up. No, but no,
now you know my secret.
Oh, I meant it because of the Star Trek. She was like, why are you watching Star Trek, you nerd? But no, she was very surprised. And it turned out that she would have nightmares about not being able to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, insomnia. That's really common in insomnia. It's not that you're not getting sleep; it's that you're not getting good quality sleep. And it's really common. I'm pretty. At least I think it is for people to think they're not sleeping, and you are. You just,
Do you remember that Star Trek: The Next Generation episode where I think it was Riker thinks he's not, or like every time he lays his head on the pillow, it's like he's waking up that moment. It's because something's messing with him in his sleep.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that was nightmare fuel. But back to sleep paralysis. This may be something that says triggered by sleep deprivation, psychological stress, or abnormal sleep cycles. I literally do all of those things recreationally. I do try to sleep now. I'm like 35. I'm going to be 36 next month. If you want to send me a present, just cash is good. But like, yeah, I try to sleep, but when I was younger, I was a nightmare. I've also noticed that I've never had sleep paralysis while sleeping on my side or my stomach.
I was
Only
gonna
while sleeping on my
say,
back.
yeah, it's much more common for people who sleep on their back. Yeah.
Yes. The underlying mechanism is believed to involve a dysfunction in REM sleep. Sleep paralysis is commonly experienced by lucid dreamers. Some lucid dreamers use this as a method of having a lucid dream. Diagnosis is based on a person's description. Other conditions that can present similarly include narcolepsy, atonic seizure, and hypokalemic periodic paralysis.
Oh.
Yeah, say that 5 times fast.
I'm
Or even
surprised.
just once.
Yeah.
What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I'm surprised they didn't say like ghosts and possessions.
Demons. I should mention that girl I was dating. One of the reasons that she had horrible sleep was that her mother was a nut job. And she used to have nightmares where she felt like something was sitting on her chest and stuff like that. And her mom told her it was demons and that they had to pray and be good to get rid of them. And that messed her up like forever, basically.
Sure.
Jeez. Treatment options for sleep paralysis have been poorly studied. It is recommended that people be reassured that the condition is common and generally not serious. That's what they want you to think. Other efforts that may be tried include sleep hygiene. So like brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, washing your face while you're asleep. Cognitive behavioral therapy and antidepressants. You know, I take an antidepressant and I haven't had sleep paralysis since I started taking it, but I will tell you what I have had. The most dreams I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
I dream every night vividly. I do have lucid dreams occasionally, but I dream every night. And I used to dream like once a week. And now it's just like, even when I take a nap, I have a dream. So anyway, wow. This is great. Between 8% and 50% of people experience sleep paralysis at some point in their life. About 5% of people have regular episodes. Males and females are affected equally. Sleep paralysis has been described throughout history. It is believed to have played a role in the creation of stories about alien abduction and other paranormal events. So that's the weirdest thing to me, is that the side elements of sleep paralysis are so similar no matter what culture you live in or where you are in the world. Like, so many people see old hags.
Yeah.
And it's super weird. Super weird.
Well, I mean, that's because it's not really what any of this is about. It's really like demons and stuff. And we just came up with the answer to what it is.
This is Michelle's vengeance for me reading a story about a woman's house where there's like a stranger living in it. She's like, now I'm going to make Henrique sleep with one eye open every night. It's working, by the way.
Thank you.
The main symptom of sleep paralysis is being unable to move or speak during awakening. Imagine sounds such as humming, hissing, static, zapping, and buzzing noises are reported during sleep paralysis. Other sounds such as voices, whispers, and roars are also experienced. It has also been known that one may feel pressure on their chest and intense pain in their head during an episode. I've never experienced those things. I never hear... It's the weirdest thing, though. I never hear somebody or something, but I know they're there. Like, I just know that they're there. The worst sleep paralysis episode I ever had was worst being like I think it was like the freakiest. Well, other than the ones I'm about to tell you toward the end of the story, which are the scariest ones. This was not the scariest one. This was the weirdest one. I had a fever. I was like going through a really bad flu when I was a teenager. And I woke up in the middle of the night, like sweating and dizzy and confused and couldn't move. And I thought I was in a hospital.
Oh.
And I was calling out because I knew someone was visiting me and that they were leaving. And I didn't want them to leave. I was like, no, come back. Where are you going? And I couldn't move.
Wow.
And when I finally came to, and it's not like a snap, it's like you just slowly realize, oh, my arms will move now. And then you look around and you go, what was I talking about? I'm just in my bedroom. The scariest, it's only happened once, is sleep paralysis in an unfamiliar place.
Yeah.
Because familiar places don't even feel familiar when you're having sleep paralysis. I had sleep paralysis once in a hotel room, and I do not recommend. Was not fun.
Sorry.
It's okay. I should mention that there's a documentary about sleep paralysis, which name is escaping me right now. I think it's called Nightmare. And they mentioned that some people who study sleep paralysis have found that if you read about sleep paralysis or talk about sleep paralysis, you will have a bout of it.
Yeah, actually, I didn't say that because I didn't want to scare you since we're talking about sleep paralysis, but I heard that too.
That's fine. My move now when I have sleep paralysis is once I come down, I just check the dogs, and if they're sleeping soundly, I know everything's good. You know, like, because they would wake up if somebody was in the room or whatever. So let's move on. Okay, so I don't want to talk about the boring stuff like why you have it or whatever. That's too boring. Except this part. Research has found a genetic component in sleep paralysis, the characteristic fragmentation of REM sleep. They have heritable component in parasomnias, which lends credence to the idea that sleep paralysis is also genetic. Twin studies have shown that if one twin of a monozygotic pair, identical twins, experiences sleep paralysis, the other twin is very likely to experience it as well.
Okay.
That's interesting. The identification of a genetic component means that there is some sort of disruption of a function at the physiological level. Further studies must be conducted to determine whether there is a mistake in the signaling pathway for arousal as suggested by the first theory presented, or whether the regulation of melatonin or other neural populations themselves have been disrupted. Sorry. Hallucinations. This is the part about hallucinations. Several types of hallucinations have been linked to sleep paralysis. The belief that there is an intruder in the room, which is what I always experience when I have sleep paralysis. The presence of an incubus, and the sensation of floating.
Wow.
I've never had the sensation of floating, but I'm getting to the incubus. I've never told you about this, have I?
I guess not.
Because you look terrified.
I'm a little terrified.
Oh, God, just wait.
Oh, no.
So, a neurological hypothesis is that in sleep paralysis, the mechanisms which usually coordinate body movement and provide information on body position become activated, and because there is no actual movement, induce a floating sensation. The intruder and incubus hallucinations highly correlate with one another and moderately correlated with the third hallucination, vestibular motor disorientation, also known as out-of-body experiences.
Wow.
Which differ from the other two in not involving the threat-activated vigilance system. This is what fascinates me, because it says threat hypervigilance. And the reason that's exciting to me is because I suffer from regular hypervigilance, and I'm wondering if that's part of me. For those who don't know, hypervigilance is just that you can pay it, like you're just a nervous wreck, basically. You can pay attention to everything all at once, all the time. And that's me, hypervigilant. A hypervigilant state created in the midbrain may further contribute to hallucinations. More specifically, the emergency response is activated in the brain when individuals wake up paralyzed and feel vulnerable to attack. This helplessness can intensify the effects of the threat response well above the level of typical normal dreams, which could explain why such visions during sleep paralysis are so vivid. The threat-activated vigilance system is a protective mechanism that differentiates between dangerous situations and determines whether the fear response is appropriate.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, they have there's prevention and treatment. I don't care about any of that. This is really cool. We're going to talk about a cultural significance of sleep paralysis in a second, but I want to okay, so I was living in New Jersey, sleeping in my apartment alone on the weekend. My roommate was never home on the weekend. And I'm sleeping on the floor because I had no bed and lived in the living room because New Jersey is very expensive. And I woke up laying flat on my back and I looked around the pitch black room and I couldn't see anything. And as I moved my eyes around the room, I saw one thing out of the corner of my eye. And the longer I laid there looking at it, the clearer it became to me what it was. It was a woman, curled in a ball, on the balls of her feet, like with her knees up against her chest, her hair hanging over the front of her face. And she just sat there unmoving. And when I finally came to, when I finally was able to kind of move around, I was so certain I had seen her that I was racking my brain. Like, did I invite someone over and I don't remember? It was still pitch black, so I felt around the room, like trying to feel if there was another person. And then I turned all the lights on and just walked through the entire apartment.
Wow.
To this day, I can see that woman balled up with her hair falling down her face completely clear in my mind.
Wow.
But that's the only time, and I've suffered from sleep paralysis like monthly my entire life, and that was the only time I saw an old hag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing I like ate ice cream at 1 o'clock in the morning or something, but but I saw the old hag.
Wow.
And it was terrifying. I'm so glad she wasn't sitting on my chest.
Yeah.
But I saw the old hag, and that was the only time. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, it sounds scary.
The only other time I was truly terrified during sleep paralysis was when I first moved to New Jersey and I was staying in a boarding house. And it was like the first week I was living there, I was sleeping in my bed, laying on my back, and I opened my eyes all of a sudden and I'm like, I'm not alone in the room. I can't move. I'm not alone in the room. And I looked over the corner and there was a 7-foot tall dark figure just standing there staring at me.
Oh.
And my heart pounded and I didn't know what to do. And then when I finally could move, I grabbed my glasses and put them on. It was the door. The door was brown and the walls were white. And I'm blind as a bat without my glasses. So it blurred it. It like smoothed the edges out. And I thought there was like a 7-foot tall monster waiting to eat my skin.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It was a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let's see. This was something I wanted to mention. The night hag is a generic name for a folkloric creature found in cultures around the world, which is used to explain the phenomena of sleep paralysis. A common description is that a person feels a presence of a supernatural malevolent being, which immobilizes that person as if standing on their chest. This phenomena goes by many, many names. In Cambodia, they refer to it as the ghost pushing you down.
Oh.
And it entails the belief in dangerous visitations from deceased relatives.
Oh. That's
Damn
not
you,
nice.
Aunt Gertrude. Stop killing me, Aunt Gertrude. Oh my gosh, this is scary. In Egypt, sleep paralysis is conceptualized as a terrifying jinn attack.
Oh.
The jinn may even kill its victims. Jinn is basically the evil genie. I don't know if you knew that. The concept of a genie comes from Islamic folklore. And the jinn, D-J-I-N-N, is evil.
Yeah.
And it grants you wishes, maybe, but mostly just kills.
Yeah,
and
I didn't know
and kills.
it did wish things. I just knew it was like kind of an evil spirit thing.
Yeah. We're going to do, I don't know exactly when, but we're going to do a Terrifying and True about the history of the evil genies, of the jinn.
Okay.
That's going to be a really fun one. So in Italy, in different regions of Italy, there are many examples of supernatural beings associated with sleep paralysis. In regions of Marche and Abruzzo, it is referenced as a pantefece attack. The pantefece usually refers to an evil witch, sometimes a ghost-like spirit, or a terrifying cat-like creature. See, if you said like a cat-like creature was sitting on my chest trying to kill me, I'd be like, are you sure it wasn't just a cat?
It probably was just a cat.
Just sounds like a cat to me.
Yeah.
So that mounts the chest of the victims and tries to harm them. The only way to avoid her is to keep a bag of sand or beans close to the bed so that the witch will stop to count how many beans and sand grains are inside it. That's an old myth thing, that evil creatures have to count things, if you like sand or rice or beans, when you throw them on the ground.
I mean, it's good that they're curious. You know, they gotta know.
Yeah, they desperately need to know. A similar tradition is present in the Sardinian folklore, which I love their sardines, so I'm listening, where the amatadore, sorry about the pronunciation, is known as a creature that mounts on people's chests during their sleep to give them nightmares and can change its shape according to the person's fear. In northern Italy, specifically the Tyrol area, the trud is a witch that sits on people's chests at night, making them unable to breathe. To chase her away, people should make the sign of the cross. Something that would be a great struggle in the situation of paralysis.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, making the sign of the cross is not going to be easier during paralysis than throwing a bag of beans.
Well, no, don't you just keep it by? Oh, I thought that like if you just kept it there, she'd be like,
I think you're right. No, he has to count it.
beans."
You're right. Oh,
Yeah.
ooh, beans. I'm going to keep a can of beans next to my.
Yeah. Put a can opener too, just in case they can't get in.
Or in case I'm hungry at night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat these beans. I have a girl over and she's like, I'm gonna eat these beans. I'm like, no, those are my old hag beans. And then she'd be like, listen, it's already impressive I'm here. Why are you pushing it? Okay, anyway. A similar folklore is present in Sanio area around the city of Benevento, where the witch is Gennara. In southern Italy, sleep paralysis is usually explained with the presence of a sprite standing on people's chests. It makes sense that they'd be all in on witches, because my grandpa used to tell me about how brujas in Portugal, it was all witches. That was the thing you were afraid of when you were a little boy.
Yeah.
Witches. And he grew up in Portugal, and it was like witches. So, these are big examples. Another one, in Newfoundland, sleep paralysis is referred to as the old hag, and victims of a hagging are said to be hag-ridden upon awakening. Victims report being completely conscious, but unable to speak or move, and report a person or an animal which sits upon their chest. Despite the name, the attacker can either be male or female. Some suggested cures or preventions for the old hag include sleeping with a Bible under the pillow, calling the sleeper's name backwards, or in an extreme example, sleeping with a shingle or board embedded with nails strapped to your chest. That wins.
That's awesome.
I love how it's like all of these things are like, and then here's this like fascinatingly spiritual way to do it, and this other fascinating spiritual way, or Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. Just strap a board with nails to your chest. Yeah, I'd like to see you sit on that, old hag. Oh my God, this object was called a hag board. I think I want that to be the name of my new band, Hag Board. In Nigeria, they have a myriad of interpretations for the cause of sleep paralysis. This is due to a very diversified culture and belief systems that exist there. Oh, thanks. No examples. It just said that. Thanks, Wikipedia. You're always so helpful. So that's sleep paralysis in a nutshell. I do experience it pretty often. I will probably experience it tonight thanks to talking about it a bunch. Hooray. Yeah. And the documentary I was thinking was called The Nightmare.
Okay.
Highly recommend watching it. It's super interesting. They even mention in it warning you that if you're going to watch this and you have sleep paralysis, that you're going to have sleep paralysis from watching it. I don't remember if I did after I watched it or not, but it's good to have that kind of warning. You know? So Michelle, since I have been talking the most about my sleep paralysis, and you don't have sleep paralysis because you are not the 8 to 50% who suffer from it. Do you have nightmares?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have any like really vivid, scary nightmares?
Sort of, but they're all involve me just like killing people. So,
oh God, yeah.
You know?
They're more like stress dreams at that. I mean, like, wait, hold on. We've talked about this before. You don't dream about the actual act of killing them, do you?
Not usually.
Usually.
I think I may have before, but usually it's just that I killed someone, and usually it's an accident. It's like always an accident. But then I have to keep their body so nobody finds.
See, because I've had stress dreams that are about like I've already done something bad and now I have to get away with it. And I find that incredibly scary and stressful. Yeah,
and in mine, like no one ever finds out. It's just me panicking about it.
I've had a lot of dreams that I'm running from a Terminator.
Oh.
But they're not intense. It's just like I just have to keep moving. It's like, oh, like I need to get in the car and keep driving because the Terminator's it's coming after me, but it's behind me now. And it's really weird.
Yeah.
Like I said, I used to not dream at all, and now I feel like I'm an expert at dreaming. So, and of course, I was a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan as a kid, so that was like my big dream thing, was loving Freddy Krueger and all that stuff. And actually, when I was a kid, when I would have really scary nightmares, I used to will myself awake. that was something I was able to do when I was a kid. I can still do it,
Yeah,
but I don't usually have nightmares like that anymore.
Yeah, I used to be able to do that too.
Yeah?
I just can't. I can't anymore. I don't really lucid dream anymore. But yeah, I don't know.
So have you ever, you got to admit, right? Nothing feels better than that feeling when you've woken up after the nightmare that you killed somebody and you have to get away with it. And you wake up and take a deep breath and go, I never did kill anybody.
I mean, I guess.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, that might have been an admission of guilt, Michelle. I'm a little nervous now. Oh dear. We've done it now.
In a way I didn't want it to go.
Well, I think we're going to take a quick break and let our sponsors speak so that you don't incriminate yourself further in a court of law.
No.
And when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about horror movies we've seen this month, some horror-related news. We'll talk a little bit about the scary side of Reddit and wrap things up for the month when we get back right after this. You know, spooky season is almost here. Like, October is a month away, basically.
Not even September yet.
Well, by the time people listen to this, September will be days away.
Okay.
Now you're making me mad. It's basically October right this second. Okay. In fact, it was basically October 3 weeks ago. And spooky season is upon us. We have a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike as far as spooky media. Last month, we talked about the trailer for The Munsters, the brand new Munsters movie, which we both found kind of underwhelming. So now I want to talk about the next thing that's coming out in October, which is Wednesday. It's an Addams Family series coming direct to Netflix. And it is, I don't know if it's directed by or what, but Tim Burton is involved with it. And it's a teen series about Wednesday Addams. And people are very split about what they think of it. They released a teaser. You can check it out on the YouTube. I watched it. Michelle watched it. Michelle, what did you think of it?
I mean, I thought it was fine. I thought it was, well produced and stuff. So,
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about, like, I have some concerns. But, do you want to know what the concerns are?
Well, no, because we're not doing a show right now. Yeah, please tell us the concern.
My concerns is it like, really, she's like possibly murdering or maiming kids at all these schools.
Yeah.
And like she's not just like in an asylum or some sort of juvenile detention place. She just keeps going to schools. Like, come on, man.
Her parents are billionaires. That does help.
It's been like 8 schools. 8 schools. It's too
in 5
many
years.
It's too
8
many
schools in 5 years.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So like, and also the whole piranha thing. I was like, piranhas. So that's
like the most Addams Family thing about it though, because piranhas are, or as they're properly said, piranhas are, they're like a perfect example of that like cartoony 1950s ness of the Addams Family to me. Like the piranhas are just like totally like, it's like she would set the trap of quicksand, like that's just like, to me, that's just like a ghastly old thing to do. It's obviously cartoony. You couldn't actually throw a big sack of piranhas into a chlorinated swimming pool and they would just immediately attack a bunch of kids. So because in the teaser trailer, the last school Wednesday's kicked out of is because some jocks were bullying Pugsley. So when they were at swim practice, she unleashed a bunch of piranha, which I thought was pretty funny. Some people thought it was mean-spirited. I mean, they didn't get murdered, but they didn't get murdered.
They got bad things happen to them, though. And we don't know that none of them got murdered.
None of them died, but one of them was sterilized. Yes.
That's not nice.
That's fine. You do that sometimes. It happens, sometimes you get sterilized. What do you want? But no, I will say, so a lot of people are bothered by the fact that Gomez Addams is being played by Luis Guzman, an actor that I have liked for a very, very long time. They're definitely leaning into the way Gomez Addams looked in the comic strip, where he was a bit more like tubby and not very attractive, because all of Adam's family since the TV series on, Gomez has always been a relatively attractive guy.
Mhm.
And of course, I believe the greatest Gomez of all time is Raul Julia, because that is just what I believe. But some people are mad about Luis Guzman playing him. My only problem with Luis Guzman is the wig they put on him, I think, just looks so stupid. I just think it doesn't look like it's his hair.
Yeah.
So that's why it looks weird. Not because he has a weird center part. It's because the hair looks weird.
Mm-hmm.
If that is his actual hair, I will feel terrible. But I don't think it is.
Might be his hair.
But I love Luis Guzman. It's also funny because some people have been saying like, oh, you're just mad because they're making the Addams Family Hispanic. I mean, that obviously does not bother me.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the Addams Family never had a Hispanic vibe until Raul Julia, but it was always intended for Gomez Addams to be from Spain in a way, or at least his parents were from Spain. They were Castilian. So, but the other funny thing is people will be like, well, of course he's going to be Hispanic. His name is Gomez. And I'm like, well, his first name's Gomez, which is not a thing in the Hispanic world. Gomez is a surname, not a first name. And in fact, in Spanish-speaking places, when the Addams Family was first released, they named him Homero because people were confused by him having the first name Gomez because it's not a first name.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, this is the 1950s. Charles Addams and John Aston wanted to give Gomez, some backstory and stuff. So they named him Gomez because that was a Spanish name they knew. They just chose a surname. They just weren't that aware of the culture. It's the 1950s. What do you want? Like people are a lot more aware of other cultures now. The other thing drives me crazy is people are like, they're going back to the comic strip. And I'm like, remember that the comic strips were single panel and none of the characters had names. I like the old comic strips. I'm a humongous Addams Family fan. I love all of the TV series, including the new Addams Family that was made in Canada with that theme song, Welcome to the Addams Family. How you do the Addams Family. Something, something Addams Family now. Cha-cha-cha, snap, snap. I love that show. Should have stopped while I was ahead. I love the Addams Family. I really do. I'm excited to see this. It does appear it's focusing on Wednesday since the name of the show is Wednesday. So, and the other thing is people keep saying like, they're going back to the comic, but then the Wednesday Addams they're depicting is completely based on the Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family movies in the 90s. Because she was just kind of darkly aloof and a kid in the original TV series. And the TV series is where most of the Addams Family stuff comes from. Is that original TV series, because they all got their names there. They actually did dialogue and they related to each other and stuff like that. Then I have no problem with them taking the best stuff from whatever incarnations to do this.
Yeah.
But it's definitely that quick-witted, deadpan Wednesday Addams, which was Christina Ricci's, creation in a way. So, I mean, she was the one who mastered it. I don't know if, I doubt she was so young. I can't imagine she was like, this is how I want to do it. I imagine she was directed and there was good writing. And I love those Addams Family movies. They still hold up, by the way. So I'm going to stop talking about Addams Family because I called you on the phone very mad and talked about this for a really long time.
Yeah, we had a long conversation.
Well, I was also driving. I mean, what am I going to do? What am I going to pay attention to the road? Get out of my sight. Come on. But so Addams Family, Wednesday Addams is coming, and I might have to make you watch it with me if it's any good, so we can talk about it on further monthly Spookies.
Okay.
I mean, I like having that kind of power over you.
Wow.
So
I know.
Hey, cut down that attitude, or I'll make you watch the Munsters too.
Oh.
You're like, I'll be good.
Yeah.
Poor Munsters. I'm gonna watch it. So. If by some bizarre circumstance it's like really good, I will be sure to tell you so you can watch it.
Okay.
But anyway, so speaking of horror media, you and I had an awesome opportunity. It's been about a year since we got to hang out.
Yeah.
And last time we hung out, it was very brief. So we got to hang out for a couple of days. We got some food. We went to the movies twice. And you finally got to see Nope, the new Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah, I did.
And what did you think of it now that you've had some time to kind of gather your thoughts?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was anything like really groundbreaking or like amazing, but I thought it was a good movie.
Well, I think that's an important thing because his last 2 movies were considered groundbreaking and fascinating.
Mhm.
He can't do that every movie. It's not you shouldn't do that every movie. I don't think you can. If you
Fine.
set the bar that high, like I'm a filmmaker. I'm a film director for a living, and every movie can't be I mean, unless you only want to make like 4 movies your whole life, they can't all be masterpieces. That doesn't mean that you don't care, but like sometimes you got to be like, look, this movie's meant to be fun, and I believe, and he did that's the thing. The movie's fun, and the
Mhm.
characters are great. The
Mhm.
writing is not lazy. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing to complain about. Now, just because his first 2 movies were like shockingly good and had like a lot to say about, a lot of major social commentary, why can't he also make a good movie that's fun and that has a decent amount of social commentary, but not as intensely?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say, but compared to his other movies,
Why
I
do
just
you
said,
hate Nope?
oh.
But no, but you enjoyed it. It just wasn't your like favorite movie of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was up there for me. It was one of my favorite movies of the year. And I've seen it 3 times now. Seeing it with you in the theater was the 3rd time I'd seen it. I
Wow.
really liked it. But I'll be dead serious. Like, I think Get Out's my favorite than that, but it was
Mhm.
still really, really good. And the reason we're gonna stop talking about Nope right now is because in order for us to talk about Nope more in depth, we would have to spoil stuff that really makes the movie work.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
will say, if you're like, I kind of want to see Nope, just see it.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it, but if I ruin anything beyond saying it has more of an adventure vibe than you might be expecting, that's the most I can say without spoiling it.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's the thing is I remember when I saw it in the theater, when everything kind of took a shift toward the middle of the movie, I was just like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, this is like a fun time.
Mhm.
Like, I'm really enjoying it. So, but we saw another movie in the theater, which you had never even heard of.
Yeah.
And it's an A24 release, which is a smaller movie studio that releases a lot of art house and horror movie titles, and it's called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. You gonna react or?
Oh, I don't know. What I don't know.
I like to pick on you. I'm a bad person.
Mm.
Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is, I would say it's a slasher. Would you call it a slasher movie?
Sure. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know
it's
what.
definitely a
Yeah.
murder mystery,
Yeah.
if not a
Yeah.
slasher movie. About this group of Gen Z kids who get together in a mansion when a hurricane's going to hit to have a hurricane party. Just hang
Mhm.
out in this big mansion and get drunk, play games. And Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a party game where where you all draw cards and one of you is the killer, but nobody else knows who's the killer. You shut off all the lights, and the killer has to sneak up on you and touch your back. And when they touch your back, you have to lay down like you're dead. And then they try to do that to as many people as they can in the pitch black.
Mhm.
But when a non-killer finds a dead person, they have to announce bodies, bodies, bodies. And you turn on the lights and everybody gathers around. And then you try to guess who the killer is. It's kind of
Mhm.
like, what's that game that was really popular with the imposter? I can't remember it now because I'm old.
I don't know.
That game where you jettison them into space. I can't. Oh my gosh, I'm so old. I can't remember that game. It was a cute game where you basically try to figure out who the killer is. It's very similar to Bodies, 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 but you vote on who gets shoved out the airlock.
Oh, okay.
And the killer could be sitting there misleading everybody to do it. I feel
Mhm.
so bad that I don't remember the game. I feel so old. I'm such an old man. Um, and now it's like I'm never gonna guess what it was. Among Us. I looked
Oh.
it up. Among
Oh.
Us.
Oh,
It's
that's
kind
what
of like Among Us.
that's what that is.
So in Bodies, 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 they're playing it during a storm, and then of course the power actually goes out,
Mhm.
and one of them finds a murdered friend who is definitely dead. He's bleeding to death when they find him, and then he dies. The power's out, their phones don't work, the Wi-Fi is out, so they don't know what to do, and one of them is probably definitely the killer.
Mhm.
So from there, things kind of deteriorate. We get a lot of hilarious insight into kind of Gen Z culture and into, I would say, really into the idea of like the people you grow up with and how much animosity can be built between friends, especially these friends who are all rich. They all
Mhm.
like grew up with a lot of money. And of course, that means that they're even more angry at each other because I guess because their lives are somewhat easy. I don't know. But I really enjoyed it. What did you think of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was good. I don't know.
Well, like, did you like the setting? Because one of the reasons I got excited when I realized we could go catch bodies was I loved the setting of just like most of the movie is cell phone flashlights during a hurricane. And
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I thought that was good. Yeah.
Michelle's like, I'm not much of a movie reviewer. Please stop looking at me. But no, you thought it was a fun time, and you're not a huge horror. I mean, you don't dislike horror movies, but you're not like seeking out horror movies all the time. So
I don't know that that's fair. I'm not seeking out any movies all the time, so like I'm not a horror movie person or anything.
You know, when we first met, I thought you were too cool to watch television.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I told you?
Yeah.
Oh man, I thought I kept that a secret because that was so
No.
embarrassing. Yeah, I literally thought you were too cool, and then one day you're like, "Oh, I'm just sitting here watching Lifetime," and I was like, "What? You're a slob just like all of the rest of us?" Oh my gosh! And now, of course, we share our deep-seated love for TV Christmas romance movies.
Yeah.
Which this is not the place to discuss.
Not really.
But anyway, so you would say Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really good. I thought that the characters were well developed.
Yes.
And I learned that if I do a lot of cocaine, it's probably not a good idea during a hurricane party when the power's out.
Well, I agree too about the characters being really fleshed out, because at first when they're introduced, you're like, wow, here are a bunch of one-dimensional, very unlikable characters. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, wow, I really understand why I don't like these characters at all. And it seemed like every time you would start to feel like a character maybe had a little depth that made you appreciate them, they were like dead the next scene. So
yeah.
Highly recommend Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. It just left theaters. Literally, we saw it the last night it was in theaters.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be on video on demand and wherever you like to rent your movies by October. So if you're looking for a slasher movie that's a little bit different, lots of fun, cool characters, I highly recommend Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And I am not a movie reviewer. I'm just telling you because I love films and I really enjoyed Bodies, Bodies. I also really love saying Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I love it. I love it so much. So, Michelle, I think it's about time you take everybody down your guilty pleasure. Is that even fair to call it a guilty pleasure? Or do you let your mom know you read Reddit?
Oh, I tell my mom about Reddit stuff all the time.
And she just goes, what's wrong with you?
She doesn't if I can tell her interesting, am I the asshole stories, she likes that. But
Yeah.
Besides that. Yeah.
Besides that. So what's going on in the spookier side of Reddit?
So I had a couple of things. I think they're both from Glitch in the Matrix, just because they were better than the other stuff that I thought were cool. I think they're really, really easy to remember, so I don't think I have to look at this.
Okay.
But so the first one has to do with dogs and animals. So
dogs and animals.
Yeah, actually dogs and animals.
Okay.
So,
and for those who don't know, Glitch in the Matrix is the idea that reality's breaking or not making sense.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
More or less. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like I'm positive I owned a brown car. I bought a brown car and now my car is green and my registration says it's green and everything says it's green, but I bought a brown car.
Yeah.
And that's a very extreme example. It's usually more like, I have a brown cereal bowl, but it's green now. It's usually not as intense. But anyway.
So there's a couple and they live in a cabin in the woods. They're
of course.
Pretty secluded and they're repairing it. They're fixing it up and stuff. And they have 2 dogs and a cat and 2 other animals or whatever. So
generic just generic miscellaneous animals.
Yeah, I don't remember what the other ones were. It was it's something and it's something else. Doesn't matter. They're not in the story. But what's in the story is the person who I don't remember anything about them. But the person was the dogs. They put the dogs in the backyard so that they could clean the house because there's so many animals that there's just hair everywhere. So
I know what that's like.
Yeah, so the dogs are running around in the backyard getting really muddy. So it's muddy out. And so the person is like cleaning and vacuuming and stuff. And when they're all done, they reopen the door to the outside, and like there's a room first before the rest of the house, and they're like really muddy. So she just like kind of keeps them in there while they like dry off.
Okay.
And stuff. And she's like,
Yeah,
I'll come
mud
back
room.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the mud room. And she like pushes past them, and they're like big dogs and like jumpy and happy. And she pushes past them, and they're doing their thing. She walks into the house, and there's muddy footprints on the floor. Dog footprints.
Okay.
And like they just go, and then they stop, and that's it. And she's like, but they're in the room. And they're totally still in the room. And she has no idea. And she just cleaned everything.
Yeah.
So she has no idea. And they're like, they have other animals, but they don't all share the same space. And like the next biggest animal is like the cat, and the cat's paws are totally different size. They're like way smaller. These look like dog paws. And she actually took a picture, and it was there, and they're totally paw prints. So I don't know what happened.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I mean, my of course, my initial skeptical instinct would be that she did clean up or did not clean up some paw prints and just forgot.
Okay, but yeah. And that could be, but we're talking about like a line of muddy footprints, not like one.
Okay.
Like a dog walked, and then that's it. Then just disappeared.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on with that?
I don't know. I mean,
Carbon monoxide detector?
Yeah, no, but I could see it, so not a carbon monoxide thing. But like, I mean, it's possible. Like, because the thing is, like, I have an animal that I don't want to get out of the house. She could not push past me without me knowing that she pushed past me. It just wouldn't happen. So unless she was really distracted, or there's a ghost dog and it came in.
A ghost dog.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a scene, this just made me think of it. There's a scene in Amityville Horror Part 3 where their daughter falls into the lake. And at one point, the mom is just, they don't know this, the parents don't know this. And at one point, the mother is just sitting in the house, and the father is walking down to where the lake is behind the house. And the mother's just sitting there, and all of a sudden, her daughter storms in through the front door. And stomps up the stairs, soaking wet and looking angry, and just goes into her bedroom door as her mother's chasing after, trying to get her answer, and just slams the door in front of her and locks it. And the mom's like pounding on. She's like, "Let me in, come on!" And then it cuts to the father finding their drowned daughter's dead body.
Oh God!
In the thing and pulling her up. And he brings her up, and he's like, "Call an ambulance." She's like, "She's in." And then they open the bedroom door, and it's empty.
Wow.
And I remember that was so cool because it creeped me out, and they didn't have any special effects, nothing special about it. They just did it.
Yeah.
But like my brain was like, oof, I feel like that could happen.
Yeah.
To me, like, because it wasn't unusual, but then in hindsight, it was extremely unusual. And then your brain would fill in the blanks. Like, did she look odd? Because I don't, when you see somebody you see all the time, you don't like observe them closely and try to see, is their skin tone off? Are their lips blue? Especially if they're walking right by you and you're mad at them or whatever, because they were having a fight earlier. Stuff like that. So I that just is what made me think of it, with like a dog sneaking past them and not realizing it or something. I don't know. I mean, I guess the biggest thing would be check your carbon monoxide detector. Which is the answer to all paranormal Reddits, is how is your carbon monoxide detector functioning? But that one is creepy. And the idea of ghost animals creeps me out anyway, because normal animals I don't know about creep me out. So like, I just imagine if I didn't know my dogs and I woke up and they were in my house, how scared I would be.
Yeah, me too. See, ghost animals are less scary to me than random animals you don't know that are alive in your house. Oh my God.
Oh, I'll remember that when I drop my dogs off at your place.
That I'm more scared of them?
Oh, you're more scared of living ones than ghost ones? Oh, okay. That's what I was saying too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For a second, I thought you were contradicting me. Or not contradicting. Disagreeing is a more polite way of saying it. But what else is going on in Spooky Reddit?
Okay, so I have one other one that I thought was really cool.
Okay.
So there's this dude, I guess, who lives in like a house by himself. doesn't have anybody else in his house. And on his keychain, he just has a keychain that has 3 keys, and it's like car key, house key, and then like a key for something else, but I don't remember what it was. And so he goes to the store, and like just like I think he said like he went to just get like lunch. Like he just like went to like a fast food place. Comes home and tries to unlock his door with his key, and he can't unlock his door. And he's like trying, he's like, what the fuck? Because he just left. Can't unlock it. So then he's like, okay, well, I'll just go in through the garage. And so he uses the code, and the garage door opens, and then he like goes to open that door, and it's locked, which is unusual because he doesn't usually lock it. He actually said he doesn't usually lock his doors at all. So that's weird.
That's weird enough.
Yeah, but he was like, I guess I locked it this time. So he's like, okay. He tries to unlock that door, still can't unlock it with the key. Not working.
Okay.
So he climbs in a window to get into his house, and he gets his spare key, and it works. And people asked, like, is it like, did something happen? Is the key worn down? Like, and he says they don't look like the same key.
Whoa.
So I don't know.
Because Rachel, she just moved into a new place, and her key suddenly stopped working on the doorknobs, but it still works in the deadbolts.
Oh, okay,
but it doesn't work in the doorknobs anymore, but it works in the deadbolts. So I mean, that my point of that is just that keys can be fickle.
Mm-hmm.
But that's real. That's a glitch in the Matrix type thing right there.
Yeah, I mean, especially because apparently it does not look like the spare key.
Yeah.
Now, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah, definitely.
But people were worried that maybe somebody had switched his locks, because especially since he doesn't usually lock his doors, and his spare key works. Maybe it's not the same spare key as it used to be.
Yeah.
Which is actually way scarier to me than it just being a different key all of a sudden.
Well, here's what scares me. What if somebody pickpocketed his key and swapped it with a different key so they could copy it to break into his house?
Dude, that's the best one.
But they didn't swap it back in time.
Yeah.
So he ended up with the dummy key that was meant to just distract him.
Yeah.
That scares me so much.
See, to me, that sounds like the most plausible explanation, actually.
Yeah. Well, and on the Modern Rogue, which is a YouTube channel I like, they explained how you can actually get an impression of a key and have it made pretty easily. Oh. So you just need the key for like 10 minutes, maybe less.
Wow.
And on Better Call Saul recently, they did that. They stole a guy's car key just long enough to copy it.
Wow.
And then make the person think, like, they stole the key just long enough to make a copy, and then put the key right next to the car door. So when the guy came back, he was like, it fell out of my pocket when I was getting out. Like, so that's what I think. I think it was a dummy key that they put on his ring to try to fool him, but they were going to swap it back, and they failed to.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But of course, that's, or he needs to check his carbon monoxide detectors, because he's... That's a good one, though, Michelle. That was a creepy one.
Thanks.
I'm going to think about that when I have my key ring that has 2 keys and a car key fob. I'm going to be thinking about that when I unlock my door.
Yep.
So, but on that note, Michelle, I think we're all set for this month. We've had a nice time chatting about everything that is spooky. And we're going to be back next month at the end of September to talk all about the spooky goings-on in what is pre-Halloween month. Because October is just one giant Halloween, if you ask me, and you did. So, but thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please go to WeeklySpooky.com. Check out everything we've got going on there. We have so many different shows. We're working toward having a new show every Monday and Wednesday. We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. Lots of cool stuff is going on. And Michelle, remind them where they can check out your zombie comic.
Oh, on Webtoon. If you go to Webtoon and then you go to the Canvas section and then you type in "at the end of everything," you might find it. You might,
or you can probably Google "at the end of everything" comic on Google. You'll probably find it.
Yeah.
So, and we'll put a link.
You probably can't find. Please don't do that. Please go. Please, you'll never find it.
I'll put a link in the show notes as well. So thank you all for hanging out with us, and we will see you next month. Michelle, you got the last word.
But why would you give me the last word, though? You're not going to answer that?
I can't because it's... now I have the last word. Serenity now. Monthly Spooky is hosted by Henrique and Michelle Antisocial. It is produced by Dan Wilder. Executive produced by Rob Fields. The Monthly Spooky theme song is written and performed by Ray Mattis. If you love the programming here on Weekly Spooky, please consider becoming a patron. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us continue to bring you more and more scares. You can find all the information at WeeklySpooky.com. This program would like to also thank our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay just a little bit more every single month to hear their names on the show. And they are Christopher Sullivan, Brent McCullough, Gino Lyons, Steve King, Karen Ouimet, Jack Kerr, Jeff and George Hilton, Craig Cohen, and Kevin Fry. Sincerely, thank you all so very much. And if you want to support the show, you can go to WeeklySpooky.com, get some merchandise, leave a review. Thanks again so much. Until next month, stay spooky.